Now, Frank and Joan know that electrical things work only when the electricity flows through a continuous pathway. Electricity flows through these thick wires and produces heat.
All right, so this is a very special day, isn't it? Because we have the Porsche Taycan here. Not the Turbo or Turbo S, but the 4S. Entry-level Porsche Taycan, but it's still very exciting. In this baby blue, I'm not sure if I'm a fan of the wheels, but it's 20 inches. But the car is so comfortable, even with these huge wheels. Like I said before, the car itself looks like a 911 that's been stretched, elongated, batteries in the floor, the new J1 platform. I can't wait to take it for a drive. Let's go inside first. Okay, Jim, just slow down a bit. Let's take a breather and admire this beautiful car. It's the same shape as the Mission E. In fact, so little of that concept car has changed in this transition to production model. There is no upright fascia to suck in air for an engine, so like a 911, the air flows low over the car right at bumper level. That coupe roofline too slopes down soon after it peaks at the windscreen, and that rear end with its subtle ducktail shape and Cyclops-style light strip, I mean, the resemblance here is just too much to ignore. This one isn't meant to be as insanely quick as a Taycan Turbo or Turbo S, but at least the 4S does have the least confusing name. I mean, it's a term that we're used to hearing with 911 Carreras with all-wheel drive. But if you're setting aside money for this 4S, this Taycan 4S, set aside at least 725,000 ringgit. So we're inside the Porsche Taycan. Taycan. So they've really tried to blend a lot of the 911 philosophy for the interior to this car. Look how horizontal everything is, but also very high tech. You have two screens over here, super wide, super clear, and you have this huge central instrument cluster display thing ahead of you. Very Porsche, very sporty. I feel very low in the seat. It's a very sporty car to drive. This is not the Panamera. This is not going to be a GT luxury tourer. This is more a sports car that happens to seat 4 and it also happens to have no engine. So let me just run you through this stack over here, because instead of actually changing the air conditioning or the media settings using one screen, you have 4 screens, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right now I can just change temperature with this. Media is over here. I'm not sure how to operate that screen for the passenger, but we'll leave it for now. Lovely sport chrono clock face ahead of me. Build quality wise, very, very Porsche. Everything is soft touch, but solid as a rock. So at the back of the Taycan, this is a 4-seater, even though you might think it's a 5-seater, but no. Look, in the middle over here, you have a cubby hole, cubby storage area over here, so you can't really sit down. Cup holders, standard fare. Even the rear seats are kind of bucketed. You sit in them. They have quite a lot of side bolstering for rear seats. Legroom-wise, I have no complaints. Headroom-wise, you might want to reconsider if you have like someone who's like 6'5". I'm 5'5", and I don't have that much headspace. Otherwise, it's a very comfortable interior, very well made. Did I say yet that I can't wait to drive it? So I have driven a couple of these battery-powered cars before, and they've all felt a bit strange here and there. So I'm curious to see how Porsche tackles the feel. Obviously, there is no key to turn or engine on button or an ignition system of any kind. So as you'd expect, it's very quiet, as you'd expect. The car is on, as far as I know. The screens are on. There's aircon blowing into my face. So, yeah, I guess it's on. So, the gear lever, there is none, but you do have the little stock thingy that you get with the new 992 911s. So you push that down. I'm in D, and I pull away with no noise whatsoever in my electric Porsche. A lot of work has gone into the calibration work. The calibration of all the inputs. The steering feels very direct. and very precise. It just feels great. I know it's electric, but the feedback, it feels organic. The throttle, the gas pedal, even though there's no gas, is very linear. And of course, with electric motors, you get instant response. This thing is very nimble. This has no right to be this nimble, guys. This is a 2.1 ton car. A 2.1 ton Porsche that's this low, being this fun to drive. Okay, I'm taking it easy so far. I can't really tell that I'm in an EV. So far, this thing drives exactly like a normal car. Exactly. It's eerie how much this thing drives like a normal car. Can you hear that sound, that whirring? So Porsche has engineered the Taycan to have its own sort of futuristic soundtrack. It doesn't have a V8, a flat 6, or a flat 4. So instead of doing that, they've engineered a way for there to be actual noise coming out of the car. And you can hear that outside as this car goes along, even slowly. But inside, you can still hear it. It doesn't feel as exciting as a normal engine would, but it does sound proper. Like this sound belongs to this car. It's called electric sports sound, by the way. It's very sci-fi, but I can't decide if it sounds more Star Warsy or Star Trekky. This 4S has a 79.2 kilowatt-hour battery, which is the smaller of the two capacities offered, and sandwiched under the floor and in between the front and rear axles to keep the center of gravity low and the weight balanced. In normal driving, you can easily access 435 horsepower and the full 640 Newton meters of torque from the 4S's dual motors. But in certain overboost situations, like using launch control, it'll let you have 530 horsepower. That's 0 to 100 in 4 seconds flat, and a top speed of 250 kilometers per hour. That's pretty quick on paper, right? But what is it like if you put your foot down? Okay, uphill now. That's fast. That's a lot of power. That's a lot of power. And this is the lower end one. This is the 4S. This isn't the Turbo or Turbo S. Now the Turbo S has up to 1,050 Newton meters of torque and some crazy high horsepower number too. So that one is the big daddy. That one's really, really fast. But this is about as fast as I would need anything to be. I was driving a luxury compact SUV a few days ago. This is at least twice as comfortable as that. Running on 20-inch wheels and Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires. And it's super low to the ground. And it's a Porsche. And it's electric. You see all those things, how can they exist together? How can one car have all these attributes? How can it drive like a mid-engine 911? It feels that way because all the weight is centered. I can't feel any mass being out of place. Wait. How is this even possible, okay? 2.1 tons of Porsche weaving through technical bends. This is supposed to be where it all falls apart, but it's so eager to change direction and carve a hard line through a corner. It's a sports car. It's a sports car. I mean, the ride is unreal too. So refined, but also so sharp thanks to a 3-chamber air suspension system. It's clever stuff. You can feel it really working in the city and on highways, on twisty roads, and come on, this is actually the most comfortable car that Porsche has ever made. Seriously. And this is on 20-inch wheels with Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires. On the highway, with all this power instantly thrown at you, it's a rocket ship. Just find a small gap. That's all you need, and then... Alright, here we go. Small window to overtake. a little bit speechless. A little bit speechless. That was much quicker than I thought I would want to go in very little time. Being forced back into my seat in an electric Porsche is a delicate balance of things. I can't really say it's a sports car. It's not. I can't really say it's a luxury saloon. It's not. It's in between. But then you mix the whole EV thing together with it, and it becomes a whole new animal, because EVs, apart from being clean and, zero emissions, they're also quite heavy. They're also quite unemotional because of just there's no sound associated with EVs. There's no engine note, obviously, and just not having certain sensations robs you of that feeling of excitement when you're in a car. And so when a company like Porsche comes along and says that we want to build an EV, a company that has for so long been associated with high performance, the best driver's cars in the world, you kind of go, why? What I can say so far, based on my 8 or 9 hours with this car, is that it has far exceeded my expectations. This is so advanced, and this is the most clear demonstration of Porsche's calibration mastery. They can take a 2.1 ton car and make it drive like a Porsche. That alone is so... That's so difficult to do. I can't believe they pulled it off. I did not go easy on this car, okay, let me tell you. There was 373 kilometers of range when I picked it up in the morning with a full battery, 100%. And I'm ending today, a day of mixed driving, highway, city, aggressive driving, aggressive acceleration and braking, with still 60% of the charge left, meaning all that just took 40% of the battery capacity. And so unless you have a really long road trip ahead of you, range anxiety really, to me, isn't a big deal here. And this is with a smaller battery capacity, by the way. You can get the 4S with the 93.4 kilowatt hour battery, which pushes the range beyond 450 kilometers. The charging infrastructure will get better over time, of course, but how quickly? Right, that's the question. And could you live with that charging network as it is now? Porsche at their own showrooms have installed 175 kilowatt DC fast charging stations. So that can take a near dead battery to 80% of its charge in about half an hour. That's great. But most people will still be plugging in to a 22 kilowatt wall box at home for an overnight charge. If you're the kind of person that can live with that, this car is incredible. This car is a true Porsche. I wish it was a different color. I wish it had different wheels. But I'm nitpicking at that point. This car is really, really good, guys. It's made me from an EV skeptic to an EV person that is excited about EVs. Yeah. I'm now really excited about what the next electric Porsche could be, because they wanted to play safe with this car. All right? Their first EV, let's make it as appealing as possible. Let's make it 4 doors. Let's just, let's not go nuts here. But now that we know that they can make a great EV, they've proven it to us. What else can they do? What else can they do with a Porsche 911 that doesn't have a flat 6? I know that sounds blasphemous, but what if a Porsche 911 didn't have any engine whatsoever, only had electric motors and batteries inside? That's the kind of thing that I fear as someone who's a fan of Porsche. But after sitting in this car and experiencing the Taycan, I'm much less worried about that. Maybe I just should embrace EVs in any way they come. Even if it's a Porsche 911, an EV version of that, I should just embrace that. Well done, Porsche. You've made me into a believer. You've transformed me from a skeptic to a believer of EVs. Not just of your EVs, but EVs in general. And I don't think there's any car in this category that can rival it. I think, of course, there's a Model S from Tesla, but I think this is a different league. This car is the first EV that actually behaves and feels underneath like a true driver's car, like you could have fun with it. That's crazy. Well done, Porsche. I love the Taycan.